The research ship Aurora floated quietly in the darkness of space. Its metal hull reflected the light from distant stars as it moved slowly through the empty void. Captain James Mitchell stood on the bridge, looking at the glowing screens that showed him what lay ahead. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Emma Clark. She was sitting at her control station, watching numbers and lights flash on her screen. "There's a big energy reading out there. Much bigger than anything we've seen before." Dr. Rachel Bennett walked over to look at Emma's screen. She was the ship's scientist, the one who studied alien life. Her job was to find new things in space that nobody had ever seen before. "These patterns don't match our records," she said, her voice full of excitement. "This could be the real thing. Our first alien contact." The thing on their screen grew bigger as they got closer. It was huge, much bigger than their own ship. It looked like it was built for fighting, with sharp edges and dark metal that seemed to drink in the starlight. But it wasn't moving. It just hung there in space like a dead thing. "Sir, I'm getting weak power signals from it," called Ensign Tom Harris from his seat. "Something's still working over there, but just barely." Captain Mitchell thought for a moment. They had come out here to find new things, new life, new worlds. This was exactly what they were looking for. "Dr. Bennett, pick your team. We're going aboard." 2 hours later, 6 people from the Aurora stepped through an airlock onto the alien ship. The hallway stretched out in front of them like the inside of some giant beast. Their flashlights made dancing shadows on walls covered with strange symbols that hurt to look at. "The metal is like nothing we have on Earth," Dr. Bennett whispered, running her scanner along the wall. "There are elements here that shouldn't exist." The alien ship was quiet and cold. Their boots made echoing sounds as they walked deeper into it. Everything was too big for humans, built for creatures that were taller and wider than they were. Suddenly, the ship came alive. Lights blazed along the ceiling in colors that had no names. Loud sounds filled the air, warning sounds that made their teeth hurt and their bones shake. The ship knew they were there, and it didn't want them. "We need to get out of here right now," Captain Mitchell shouted over the noise, but it was too late. Holes opened in the walls like hungry mouths. Weapons came out of these holes, long tubes that glowed with deadly light. The first blast of energy hit Corporal David right in the shoulder, spinning him around like a toy. His blood flew through the air and splashed across a nearby control panel. Wright fell to the floor, holding his wounded shoulder. His red blood spread across the alien controls, mixing with the strange symbols and lights. The moment his blood touched the surface, something amazing happened. The weapons stopped firing. One by one, they powered down with soft electronic sounds. The warning lights dimmed. The loud sounds faded away. The entire ship seemed to take a deep breath and then go to sleep. What just happened? Dr. Bennett stared at the now quiet weapons. Her heart was still beating fast from fear, but now she felt something else. Wonder. Captain Mitchell helped Wright stand up. The corporal was hurt but not badly. "I don't know what happened," the captain said, "but we're leaving before we find out the hard way." As they hurried back to their shuttle, none of them saw the alien symbols on Wright's bloody uniform beginning to glow with a soft, pulsing light. The blood had awakened something in the ship's computer, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. "Did anyone else see that?" Wright asked as they reached their shuttle. "When my blood hit that panel, everything just stopped." Dr. Bennett was already taking readings with her scanner. "The energy levels dropped to almost nothing the moment you were injured," she said. "It's like the ship recognized something in your blood and decided to shut down." They flew back to the Aurora in silence, each person thinking about what they had seen. Wright kept looking at his bloody uniform, wondering why alien weapons would stop working just because of human blood. Captain Mitchell sat in the pilot's seat, his mind racing. In all his years in space, he had never seen anything like this. Ships didn't just turn off their weapons because someone got hurt. There had to be a reason, a connection they didn't understand yet. "When we get back," he said finally, "we're going to run every test we can think of. Blood tests, DNA tests, everything. Something about us, about humans, made that ship stand down." Dr. Bennett nodded, already planning the experiments in her head. "This could change everything we know about life in the universe," she said. "If human blood can affect alien technology, what does that mean? Where does it come from?" As the Aurora turned toward Earth, carrying its crew and their incredible discovery, none of them knew that far across the galaxy, other ships were moving. Ships filled with creatures that had been hunting for something for a very long time. Ships that were now heading toward a small blue planet where the last children of their ancient enemies lived and breathed and bled. The war that had ended millions of years ago was about to begin again, and humanity didn't even know it existed. The meeting room at Global Defense Command was full of tension. Important military people sat around a long table, all looking serious and worried. Dr. Rachel Bennett stood at the front of the room with charts and pictures from their mission to the alien ship. General Robert Hayes was the most important person in the room. He was old and had fought in many wars, but he had never seen anything like this before. "You're telling me that Wright's blood made their weapons stop working?" he asked, not believing what he heard. "Yes, sir, that's exactly what happened," Dr. Bennett said. She turned on a machine that made pictures appear in the air above the table. "We watched it happen. The moment human blood touched their control panel, everything shut down." Colonel Mary Foster leaned forward in her chair. She was in charge of all the science teams. "Have you tested this? Did you try it again?" "We brought back pieces of their technology," Dr. Bennett explained. "Every time we put human blood on them, they stopped working. Every single time." General Hayes stood up and started walking around the room. His boots made loud sounds on the floor. "Colonel Foster, I want every person from that mission in your lab right now. Test their blood, test their genes, test everything." 3 days passed. Scientists worked day and night, running tests and looking at blood samples under microscopes. Dr. Lisa Morgan was the best blood scientist in the military. She had been working without sleep, trying to understand what made human blood so special. On the 3rd day, she ran into General Hayes' office without knocking. Her hair was messy and her clothes were wrinkled, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "General, you have to see this right now," she said. The science lab was busy with people working at computers and looking through microscopes. Dr. Morgan led the general and other important people to her workstation. Papers with strange charts and numbers covered every table. "We found it," she said, pointing to her computer screen. "Hidden in our DNA, in parts we thought were useless. There's a special protein that we've never seen before. We're calling it the Pacifin Protocol." On the screen was a picture of human genes, but one part was glowing bright blue. "This protein sleeps in our blood until something wakes it up," Dr. Morgan explained. "When alien energy touches it, it wakes up and sends out a signal." "What kind of signal?" Colonel Foster asked. "A stop signal. A command that tells alien machines to turn off." Dr. Morgan's voice was full of amazement and fear. "Every human being has this in their blood." General Hayes felt cold suddenly. "Doctor, how long have people had this thing in their blood?" "From our tests, millions of years. It's been passed down from parent to child for thousands and thousands of generations." Dr. Morgan looked scared as she said her next words. "Sir, this didn't happen by accident. Someone put this in us on purpose." Before anyone could ask more questions, loud warning sounds started going off all through the building. A young soldier ran into the room, his face white with fear. "General, our space telescopes have found something big coming toward Earth. Lots of ships, bigger than anything we've ever built. They'll be here in 3 days." The room went quiet. Everyone looked at each other, understanding what this meant. The alien ship they had found wasn't alone. More were coming, and they were coming to Earth. General Hayes turned to Dr. Morgan. "Doctor, you said someone put this protein in our blood on purpose. Who? And why?" Dr. Morgan looked at her computer screen again. "I don't know who, but I think I know why. This protein, this Pacifin Protocol, it's like a key. A key that turns off alien weapons. Someone, a long time ago, made sure humans would have this key when we needed it." "But who knew we would need it?" Colonel Foster asked. "Someone who knew these aliens were coming," Dr. Bennett said quietly. "Someone who knew there would be a war, and they wanted to give us a chance to win." Outside the building, people were starting to panic. News reports were talking about strange objects in space heading toward Earth. Most people didn't know what was really happening, but they could feel that something bad was coming. In the lab, Dr. Morgan kept working. "We need to understand this better," she said. "If human blood can turn off their weapons, maybe we can use it to fight back. Maybe this is how we defend ourselves." General Hayes looked at the picture of human DNA on the screen. Such a small thing, hidden in every drop of human blood, but it might be the only thing that could save them all. "How much blood do we need?" he asked. "I don't know yet," Dr. Morgan said. "But we better find out fast. If those ships are coming here to hurt us, our blood might be the only weapon we have." The general turned to his officers. "Start collecting blood from volunteers. Set up donation centers in every city. And get our best scientists working on this day and night." As people hurried out of the room to follow his orders, General Hayes stayed behind with Dr. Morgan. "Doctor, do you think we have enough time to figure this out?" Dr. Morgan looked at her computer, then at the window where she could see the night sky. "I hope so, General. Because if we don't, humanity might not survive what's coming." Far above them, invisible to the naked eye, the first of the alien ships was already entering their solar system. Dr. Lisa Morgan had not slept for 2 days. She sat in her lab surrounded by computers and papers, trying to understand the secret hidden in human blood. The alien ships were getting closer to Earth every hour, and she knew time was running out. "The numbers don't lie," she told the emergency meeting of world leaders. President Catherine Wells sat at the head of the table, looking tired and worried. Around her were generals, scientists, and the most important people from every country on Earth. "What numbers, Doctor?" President Wells asked. Dr. Morgan put a picture on the big screen that everyone could see. It showed human DNA, but some parts were glowing in different colors. "Humans didn't grow naturally on Earth. We were put here by someone else." The room went very quiet. Admiral John Parker, who was in charge of all space defenses, leaned forward. "Put here by who?" "We call them the progenitors," Dr. Morgan said. She showed new pictures on the screen. These were strange symbols and writing that came from the alien ship they had found. "We got this information from the dead ship's computer. The progenitors put human DNA on Earth about 3 million years ago." 3 million years. President Wells could hardly believe it. Why would they do that? Dr. Bennett stood up to help explain. She had been working with Dr. Morgan to understand the alien writings. The progenitors were a peaceful people. They traveled through space trying to help other worlds and bring peace to the galaxy. "What happened to them?" asked General Hayes. "They met the hegemony," Dr. Morgan said, and her voice became dark and serious. "The hegemony is not like the progenitors. They love war more than anything else. They don't just take over planets, they destroy everything living on them." Admiral Parker looked at the tactical screens showing the approaching alien ships. "The ships coming toward us are hegemony ships," Dr. Bennett confirmed. "They have been destroying every world the progenitors ever touched. Earth was supposed to be their last target." Colonel Foster studied the alien writing on the screen. "But they don't know what we really are, do they? The hegemony thinks humans are just another weak species that they can easily destroy," Dr. Morgan said. "They have no idea that we carry the one weapon that can stop them." President Wells looked around the room at all the worried faces. "So we're not just fighting to stay alive. According to this information, we're the progenitors' way of getting revenge on the ones who killed them." Dr. Morgan showed more pictures from the alien computer. These showed great battles in space, with huge ships fighting each other among the stars. The progenitors fought the hegemony for over 1,000 years. They were losing badly. In their last days, they created a final weapon against their enemies. "Us," Admiral Parker said quietly. "Yes. They took the best parts of their own DNA and mixed it with life already growing on Earth. They made sure every human would carry the Pacifin Protocol in their blood. They knew that someday, the hegemony would come to Earth, and when they did, humanity would be ready." Dr. Bennett touched the computer screen, showing a picture of Earth from millions of years ago. "The progenitors didn't just put us here and leave. They watched us grow. They helped guide our development without us knowing it. Everything we are, everything we've become, was designed to fight this war." "But why didn't they tell us?" President Wells asked. "Why keep it secret?" "Because the hegemony is very smart," Dr. Morgan explained. "If they knew what humans really were, they would have found ways to fight against our blood weapon. The secret had to be kept until the right moment." Outside the meeting room windows, people could see bright new stars in the night sky. But these weren't really stars, they were the engines of hegemony warships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of their solar system. "How many ships are there?" Admiral Parker asked his communications officer. "Over 300, sir. And they're big. Much bigger than anything we've ever built." Dr. Morgan walked to the window and looked up at the approaching lights. The progenitors' records show that the hegemony usually sends small fleets to destroy primitive worlds. 300 ships means they're taking no chances with us. Or maybe, Dr. Bennett said softly, somewhere deep in their memory, they remember the progenitors. Maybe they're afraid of what they might find on Earth. President Wells stood up and addressed everyone in the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have less than 48 hours before those ships reach Earth. According to Dr. Morgan's research, every drop of human blood is a weapon against them. But we need to figure out how to use it. General Hayes activated the emergency alert system. All military forces, prepare for combat. All civilians, report to blood donation centers immediately. This is not a drill. As alarms sounded across the world, Dr. Morgan continued working at her computer. The alien records showed her pictures of the final progenitor battle, brave ships flying directly into hegemony forces, their crews dying to plant the seeds of future victory on a distant blue world. They gave everything for us, she whispered to herself. They died so that we could live, so that someday we could finish what they started. Dr. Bennett heard her and nodded. Then we better make sure their sacrifice wasn't wasted. Above them, the hegemony fleet continued its approach. In a few hours, they would arrive at Earth expecting to find another easy victory. Instead, they would find the children of their greatest enemies, armed with weapons hidden in their very blood. The war that began 3 million years ago was about to end. The first hegemony warship appeared in Earth's sky like a black mountain floating among the stars. It was so big that people on the ground could see it without telescopes. The ship was dark and covered with weapons that glowed like angry red eyes. Admiral Parker stood in the command center of Defense Station Alpha, watching the alien ship on his screens. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. All fighters, this is it. Remember what we learned. Get close, use the blood weapons, and get out fast. Lieutenant Commander Beth Williams sat in her fighter cockpit, looking at the small glass bottle beside her controls. Inside the bottle was human blood mixed with special chemicals that Dr. Morgan had made. Beth had 24 other pilots with her, and they all had the same bottles. Phoenix Squadron, stay together, Beth said into her radio. Get as close as you can, then fire the blood missiles. The alien ship started shooting at them. Bright energy beams filled space like deadly lightning. 2 of Beth's pilots disappeared in bright flashes of light, but she kept flying toward the huge enemy ship. When she was very close, Beth fired her special missile. It was filled with human blood that had been turned into a fine mist. The missile hit the alien ship and exploded in a red cloud that spread across the hull. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the alien weapons stopped firing. The engines went quiet. The lights on the ship began to dim. It works. Beth shouted over her radio. The blood weapon really works. But their happiness didn't last long. The other hegemony ships saw what happened and quickly put up energy shields around themselves. They also sent out small robot ships to fight the human pilots from far away. On Mars, Colonel Michael Reynolds was fighting a different kind of battle. Alien soldiers had landed on the planet and were attacking the mining colony where humans worked. The enemy soldiers wore thick armor and carried energy weapons that could cut through metal like paper. Fall back to the inner buildings, Reynolds told his soldiers as they ran through the colony hallways. But as they retreated, they left behind special traps, containers of human blood connected to explosives. When the first alien soldier stepped on one of the traps, it exploded and covered him with human blood. His armor immediately stopped working. His weapons turned off. Suddenly, the scary alien warrior was just as weak as anyone else, and Reynolds' soldiers could fight him with regular guns. The blood traps work, one of his men shouted. Keep using them. But the aliens were smart. They quickly learned to send robot soldiers ahead of them to set off the traps safely. Dr. Morgan worked without sleeping in her laboratory on the command ship Endeavour. She was trying to make the blood weapon stronger and better. We need to make it work faster, she told her helper, Dr. William Chen. What if we could make the pacifin protein more powerful? Dr. Chen suggested, looking through his microscope at blood samples. Show me what you mean, Dr. Morgan said. Meanwhile, Captain Mitchell and his crew were doing the most dangerous job of all. They used their ship Aurora as bait to trick a hegemony cruiser into following them into an asteroid field. Hidden among the space rocks, human marines waited in space suits with weapons covered in human blood. The fight inside the alien ship was terrible. Human soldiers crawled through narrow hallways, fighting alien warriors who were bigger and stronger than they were. But every time human blood touched an alien control panel or weapon, that part of the ship stopped working. Sergeant Patricia Moore led her team toward the alien ship's power center. She left bloody handprints on every control panel she passed. Behind her, alien systems failed one by one as her blood activated the pacifin protocol. When they reached the ship's engine room, Moore's team planted bombs throughout the area. The explosion lit up the asteroid field like a second sun, and one more enemy ship was destroyed. But for every victory, many humans died. The hegemony had hundreds of ships, and they were learning how to fight against the blood weapons. New enemy ships appeared with better shields and weapons that could shoot from very far away. The war was becoming harder and harder for humanity to win. On Earth, people worked day and night to collect blood and make it into weapons. Factories that used to make cars now made blood missiles. Hospitals that used to help sick people now processed blood donations into military weapons. Dr. Morgan discovered that different people's blood worked better than others. Some humans had stronger pacifin proteins in their blood. These people became very important. Their blood could shut down alien systems faster and from farther away. "We're running out of time," General Hayes told the War Council. "Every day, more hegemony ships arrive in our solar system. Soon they'll have so many that our blood weapons won't be enough." The enemy had also started using new tactics. They sent robot ships with no crew, so human blood couldn't affect the pilots. They used long-range weapons to attack from distances where blood missiles couldn't reach them. Worst of all, the biggest hegemony ship was still coming. It was so large that it looked like a small moon, and it carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Intelligence reports said it was the enemy command ship, where their leaders made all the decisions. "If we can't stop that command ship," Admiral Parker said, "nothing else will matter. They'll just keep sending more and more ships until Earth is destroyed." Dr. Morgan looked at her latest test results. She had found a way to make human blood much more powerful, but it would require a direct attack on the enemy's main computer systems. "I have an idea," she said quietly, "but it's very dangerous. We would need to get inside their command ship and put the enhanced blood directly into their central computer." Everyone in the room knew what that meant. It would be a suicide mission. 6 months had passed since the war began, and Earth was losing. Cities lay in ruins, and millions of people had died fighting the alien invaders. The Hegemony command ship hung in space above Earth like a giant metal moon, its weapons pointed down at the planet below. In what remained of the government building in Washington, the surviving world leaders met for what might be their last time. President Wells looked much older than she had 6 months ago. Her hair had turned gray, and deep lines showed on her face. "Our ships can't get close to their command ship," Admiral Parker reported sadly. "They've learned to stop all our blood attacks. Their shields are too strong, and they shoot at us from too far away." Dr. Morgan stood up slowly. She was very thin now because she had been working without eating or sleeping properly. "There is one last thing we can try. Operation Crimson Dawn." She explained her plan to the room. A small team would steal one of the enemy's own ships and use it to sneak inside the command vessel. Once inside, they would take a very strong form of human blood directly to the alien's main computer brain. "The people on this mission will not come back alive," General Hayes said directly. "Once they put the blood into the computer, the entire ship will stop working. That includes the air and gravity systems." Captain Mitchell stepped forward. "I'll lead the team." "I'm going too," Dr. Bennett said. "Someone who understands alien computers needs to be there." Dr. Morgan picked up a small glass bottle filled with dark red liquid. "And I'll carry this. I made it, so I should be the one to use it." The next morning, 6 brave people climbed into a stolen enemy shuttle. Besides Mitchell, Bennett, and Morgan, there was Lieutenant Harris, Sergeant Moore, and Corporal Wright, the same man whose blood had first shown them how to fight the aliens. The stolen shuttle flew toward the massive command ship without being detected. The aliens thought it was one of their own ships returning from battle. "Remember," Dr. Morgan whispered as they flew through the ship's hangar, "we need to reach their main computer room. I only need 1 minute to pour this blood into their system. After that, the enhanced pacifin will spread through their entire fleet." They walked through the alien ship's corridors trying to look like they belonged there. The ship was so big that it took them an hour to reach the center where the main computer was kept. But as they got close to their target, loud alarm sounds began echoing through the ship. "They know we're here," Lieutenant Harris said, looking at his scanner. "We have maybe 2 minutes before they lock down this whole section." They ran toward the computer room as fast as they could. Behind them, they could hear the heavy footsteps of alien soldiers chasing them. The main computer room was enormous. In the center stood a huge crystal that pulsed with strange colored lights. This was the brain that controlled not just this ship, but the entire Hegemony fleet. Alien soldiers burst into the room, firing their energy weapons. Dr. Bennett was hit first and fell to the ground. Then Lieutenant Harris was struck down trying to protect the others. "Go! Get to the computer!" Captain Mitchell shouted as he fired back at the aliens with his regular gun. Dr. Morgan ran toward the crystal computer, dodging energy beams. Sergeant Moore and Corporal Wright formed a line behind her, firing at the aliens to give her time. "For all the people who died!" Dr. Morgan yelled, and she threw the bottle of enhanced human blood at the crystal. The bottle shattered against the alien computer, and the dark red blood spread across its surface. Immediately, the crystal began to change color, turning from blue to deep red like human blood. Dr. Morgan smiled as an energy beam hit her and she fell. The crystal was pulsing now with the same rhythm as a human heartbeat. All around the room, alien weapons began powering down one by one. The effect spread through the ship like a wave. Lights flickered and went out. Engines stopped working. The artificial gravity failed, and everything began floating in the air. But the most important thing was happening inside the ship's communication system. The enhanced Pacifin protocol was broadcasting to every hegemony ship in the fleet, sending the shutdown command to all of them at once. On Earth, people watched through telescopes as the alien fleet began to go dark. Ship after ship stopped moving and went quiet. The invasion was over. Captain Mitchell was found 3 days later, barely alive in an escape pod. He was the only survivor of the mission. As he recovered in the hospital, he looked out the window at the sky where the dead alien ship still floated. "What happens now?" a nurse asked him. Mitchell touched a small container on his bedside table. Inside was the last sample of Dr. Morgan's enhanced blood, the only one left. "Now we get ready for what comes next," he said. Because just before the command ship died, its leader had sent one final message across space. The message was simple but terrifying: the weapon species has revealed itself. The hegemony eternal knows of your location. Prepare for total war. In laboratories around the world, scientists began working to make the blood weapon even stronger. The progenitors had given humanity the key to defeating their enemies. Now it was time to turn that key into a sword that could cut through the entire hegemony empire. Dr. Chen, who had survived the war, became the new leader of the blood weapon research. "We won this battle," he told his team, "but the real war is just beginning. When the hegemony eternal comes for us, they'll bring everything they have." "Then we'll be ready," said one of the younger scientists. "We have something they don't expect. We have the blood of the progenitors running through our veins." Above Earth, the silent alien ships served as a reminder of what humans could do when they fought together. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was much more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined.